this is David Farland with Super Writers Tuesday. The question that I've got today comes from Jennifer at Gmail, and she asks, how many hooks are too many hooks to put into a story that's a middle grade story and we want to put it into the opening scene? That's a really interesting question. You can put in lots and lots of hooks into a story. If you look at my course on Promising Starts, I talk quite a bit about hooks, and I also do it in my Writing Enchanting Prose course. And there are a lot of different types of hooks. You want a hook, first of all, to get people reading right away. You want them to be thinking about what this story's about. So your chapter title is a hook. Your title for your book is a hook. You may have other hooks embedded in it. And then when you get to the opening line, usually that's going to be something to try to hook a reader. The purpose of the hook is to just send a little bit of dopamine to the brain of the reader to get them excited and keep them reading on. They're looking for a reward that's going to come later. And that reward is going to be in the form of positive emotions that they're going to feel throughout the book. So if they're looking for wonder, or if they're looking for romance, or if they're looking for adventure, you will promise those in your hooks. Now, you've got some hooks that might be hooks that go into your world building, that promise a fascinating world. You might have another hook that promises that you've got an interesting character or really a stunning conflict. And so the point here is that there are lots of different kinds of hooks, and different readers respond to those hooks each in their own way. So for example, one reader might be really fascinated by books that take them to another world. Another person might be really excited about reading about interesting characters. So you want to make sure that you use multiple kinds of hooks and you embed them in your story. They may be very small hooks. They don't have to be something that's going to be earth-shattering, but you want to have little hooks embedded throughout. So the question then becomes, how many is too many? I don't know. I did a little research a few years ago. I asked some writers to bring their favorite book to a conference, and they brought their favorite book, and then we read the openings in the books to see what kinds of hooks the authors used in those books. And I found a pattern that several of the authors used a technique that promised a lot in the book. It would start with something like this. It would say, I don't know where to begin this novel. Do I talk about the time that my mother finally fed the strychnine to my father and so that he would stop beating me? Or do I tell about the time when I met Beau and fell in love at the age of 16 and got knocked up? Or do I, you get the idea. She's promising you that this story is going to go ahead and discuss these exciting things, and she does it over and over again. And then she says, I think I'm going to start on this day instead. And then she promises what's going to happen on that day. She says, maybe I'll talk about the day that I won valedictorian at my high school and got my heart broken. And so she's going to go ahead and start there. So she puts in half a dozen hooks. And that's very common. In the first 2 pages of a book, I would think that you ought to be trying to hook the reader in maybe 5 to 10 different ways. The question then becomes, is there too many? Well, I don't know that you can have too many. I think that the biggest problem is that most writers use far too few. So we want to go ahead and put in several hooks. You don't have to keep on hooking the reader over and over again. When the reader feels compelled to read on and is excited and just wants to get going, they may actually skip ahead just to get past your hooks. So the goal of hooking the reader is to get them into the story. Once you do that, the next goal becomes, how do I transport them into the story physically, intellectually, and emotionally? And that only happens when you begin describing things and building your scene. So you're going to move into description fairly quickly. And I would say that if you spend a page that has several hooks embedded in it, and then we get into description, you're probably doing fine. We'll see you back again next week. Happy writing!